Honorable Minister, Your Excellency Andrew Mas, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am honored to do a brief presentation on development options for mining communities. But before I start, let me state clearly, I am a community person. I was born in Obuasi, I schooled in Obuasi, I married in Obuasi, I stay in Obuasi, and I probably may die in Obuasi as well. So the community is in my blood. So it will inform some of the comments I'll be making. So it's important I make that clear. I must also thank the Australian High Commission for giving us this platform to have this discussion. It is something that we have been talking about. It's something that we have worked on, and I'm glad it has come to this platform. I believe that by the time we close, we would have had a roadmap that will support the development of Obuasi. The comments by the minister gives me an assurance that already some of the issues are being addressed. So some of the issues I will raise have already been addressed by the minister. So this is the outline of the presentation. It looks very long, but I will quickly run through. I have just 20 minutes, so I'll finish very early. Overview of mining in Ghana. Mining has been an important sector of our economy for many years. This is something that we all know. And prior to colonialism, this is a fact that I love to state. Prior to colonialism, we were doing mining, and we operated a dual economy. We were doing agriculture, and then we were doing mining as well, before the white man came to Ghana. So it's important to dispel that notion that it was the British who introduced mining in Ghana. It's not true. We were doing our mining before the British came. The sector has advanced, even though we now have a very modern economy. And if you check Ghana's history very well, you notice that we had a very advanced mining sector. And when I talk of advanced, I'm talking about a sector that included value addition. So you will notice that probably in the olden days, they were far more advanced with mining than we are today. Because today we are only interested in mining the raw gold. In the past, they were adding value to the gold that they were mining. At the moment, we are told mining accounts for 5.7% of our GDP, which is quite significant. And it's a significant improvement on the 1.3% contribution to GDP that we had in 1991. I think I'll need somebody to help me with the slides. Prince, if you can. Oh, okay, thank you. In terms of employment, the mining sector's contribution is just about 1% to the total workforce. And this is according to Boating 2018. And this figure is even in the formal sector. In the informal sector, we are told the figure will be about 500,000 people. And you read the literature, and then different authors give different figures. Now, the development challenges of mining communities. I ask a question, do mining communities have peculiar development challenges? And it is obvious, it is true, very true. If you take a typical mining community, take out the mining, and the story will be different. Mining presents a whole lot of development challenges to communities, and it is a fact that we all need to acknowledge. Mining attracts migrant workers. I mean, very true. If you come to Obuasi, the indigenes are very few. A majority of them came to Obuasi because of the presence of mining, including my own grandfather, who migrated from Kikam in western Ghana to Obuasi in the early 1900s. And gave birth to my mother, my uncles, and everybody, and then I also joined. So we came from all over the country, all over the world, to settle in Obuasi. And once you have all these migrants coming in, it puts a stress on our socio-economic infrastructure, which were not designed to cope with the numbers that they have now. So you take the health sector, all our health facilities are experiencing challenges because of the influx of people and the different kinds of diseases that they have to be dealing with. You take our education sector, all our educational institutions, the public schools particularly, they are almost all overcrowded because of the numbers that they have to be dealing with. And child labor, and it's a very common practice in mining communities, particularly in the informal mining sector. This picture you see is an 11-year-old boy in a village called Memriwa. It's in Obuasi municipality. This 11-year-old boy was very high on weed. He smoked the weed, and then he goes to the site to work. 11 years, he skipped classes to be on the field to work because he said he's an orphan, and he had to work to take care of himself. So it's a very common practice in Obuasi and other mining communities. And then the famous of them all, our roads. Recently, the people of Takwa were on demonstration that they had bad roads. If you come to Obuasi, there have been agitations about the roads. This is the portions of the Obuasi and Yankwanta road that leads to Kumasi, another major commercial center in Obuasi. I'm told the government is in the process of fixing it, but this is the state it is in now. And I raised it because the normal thing people say is, how can we mine so much gold in Obuasi and have this kind of road? So it is a reflection on the state of development of mining communities. It is not only in Obuasi. Takwa also has the same problem. So I'm sure that discussions at this forum will come up with some of these solutions to the problem that we have. The mining companies have complained that yes, we pay our taxes, we do corporate social responsibility, but government is not using the money to fix the infrastructure. The communities also think that the mining companies are doing nothing. Interestingly, a lot of the communities think that the mining companies have to fix the road. And they go on demonstration against the mining companies. So we need to find a solution to these development challenges in order to save both the company's investments and then our own government's reputation as well. Access to water is also a problem. A research conducted by Oxfam America together with Wacom came up with that finding that about 80% of all water bodies in Obuasi and Takwa are polluted and they are not usable. In fact, anybody who lives in Obuasi will know we don't drink from our taps. We don't. We buy sachet water or bottled water, depending on your level of income. So water is a problem, and it's also because of mining. And of course, the high cost of living. Relatively, cost of living in mining communities in Ghana is higher than other areas where there is no mining. So you come to Obuasi, for instance, rent is as high as rent in Obuasi, in Accra. I mean, people are paying as high as those in Accra here are paying. People are paying so much for food and other very, very, very critical things that they need to survive. Has mining helped communities? This has always been a very controversial question. It has always been a controversial question because the answer would depend on who is talking. Communities will have a complaint. The companies will tell you how much they have invested in the communities. The local governments will tell you how much revenues they get from mining. So depending on where you stand, you can either say yes or no. But there is no doubt that the government or the state has raked in a lot of benefits from mining. So government has had high foreign direct investments coming into the mining sector. At a point in our history, FDI into the mining sector constituted about 80% of all foreign direct investments in the country. So that tells you where most of our FDI are going. And then there's increased government revenue. The mining sector remains the leading contributor to our internal revenue. The mining sector makes the most contribution to internal revenue. And then, of course, employment, which I have already mentioned. But let's come down to my people, our community people. Has mining been beneficial to them? I take myself out of the civil society space and I now speak as a community person. The promised development that mining is supposed to give us has not yet come. We are still waiting. It has remained elusive. Normally, when any mining operation is beginning, the front runners who go to the communities to sensitize them always tell them that, oh, accept the company in your midst and that there will be development. In 10 years, when you go back to the same community and ask them the same question, I'm sure you get a different response. So it has largely been elusive. And then there's income inequality. You come into a typical mining community. Those who work in the mine earn so much. They earn far, far above the average worker in the community. And then when you come to the indigenes who don't usually work in the mine, they don't earn that much. So there is that income inequality in the communities. So depending on who you ask, has mining been beneficial? Those who work in the mine and are earning the 10,000 and 8,000 plus, they will tell you that, oh, it's been very beneficial because they can afford a very comfortable life. But if you talk to the community person, the farmer, or the civil servant who has to cope with high cost of living, they will tell you that life is really tough. So that is why I said there's no straight answer to this question. It depends on who is talking. And then inequitable development. I don't know how it came about, but per our development schemes, mining companies created their own communities away from the usual normal communities that we have, that they came to meet. So in a typical community like Obuasi, when you go to the mining settlements, they have reliable electricity, reliable water supply, quite good roads, and everything that they need. When you come to the main township itself, it's a different story altogether. That is the inequality that you have in the communities. And it is not the best. It is not the best because it tends to raise a lot of dissent in the communities. People are not too happy about it. Now, how have we addressed these challenges? We've had the National Development Planning Framework, which is the entire nation's, our own, that plans the entire development framework for the country. Then we have the national budget. Sometimes you have bits and pieces of statements from the Minister of Finance promising that we are going to fix ABCD in the communities. It comes through the national budget. And then the district assemblies also have their own plans. They use usually the mineral royalties to provide answers to some of these development challenges that we have. And the companies, the mining companies also come into the fold. They use a corporate social responsibility scheme to support the development of our communities. I will make a case for supporting, a case for development of the communities. It is a responsibility of government to develop the entire country, including mining communities. So if mining communities feel that they are being left out, I think it is a blot on government's own ability to provide these, or responsibility to provide development. If the people of Obuasi are complaining that the road from Obuasi to Kumasi is in a deplorable shape, it is not the usual politics that people do. It is a genuine feeling that, look, we have sacrificed so much, and the least we deserve from government is to fix our roads for us. That is all we ask. If the people of Takwa are telling you that they have difficulty with their water system, it is the responsibility of government to listen to them. Because usually, the benefits of mining are nationalized. When we sell the gold and the dollars come into the economy, it goes into government chest. But the negative impacts of mining are localized. If my water is destroyed, if my building is collapsed because of cracks as a result of these blasting activities, it is a local problem I'm facing. Usually government doesn't even come in. We usually rush to the district assembly to solve it. But because of the scale of the problem, district assemblies are also not in a position to support. So a lot of the problems remain unresolved in the communities. So we want our governments to use revenues from the mineral resources to support our development. I think this is the least we can ask of our government. So I'll pass it through the Honorable Minister. He is our father. I mean, when it comes to those of us in the mining communities, he's the one we look up to. When there's a problem, we go to his office to complain if it's related to mining. So today, I am making a case for my people that turn your eyes towards our mining communities. And we need help. We need help to address our development challenges. Mineral royalty. I think the minister has already mentioned it, so let me move on. Can we use it to support our development? If you take out the 80% of the royalty, the remaining 20% goes into the MDF, as the minister has already explained. But in reality, what comes down to the communities is just about 9% after the deduction of the administration fees and all that. So, and interestingly, out of this, the chiefs have a percentage. Chiefs are not accountable to us. I mean, and I'm speaking from a practical point of view. We did a study and then we needed to talk to the chiefs about how they have used their share of mineral royalty. And one of mine told us that you civil society people, when you get your funding, you don't come and report to us. So why should we tell you how much we have received from mineral royalty? We are not answerable to you. They don't tell anybody. And interestingly, the law does not mandate them to account to anybody. So they take their share of the royalties, though I know most of them use it for development purposes. But then there's no framework that enables anybody to hold them to account. There's no framework like that. But we can always hold the district assemblies to account. Our Honorable DC is here. I know the pressures she has to go through. Honorable Faustina Emisa from Obuasi East. The pressure she has to go through because she needs to account for how she has used her share of mineral royalties. Okay, when it comes to mineral royalty, what are the key issues? Number one is quality of spending. The quality of spending. That picture you see there is anybody who has been to Obuasi, this is what welcomes you. The welcome to Obuasi municipality. It was constructed in 2007 as part of the Jubilee projects when Ghana attained 50 years. The assembly did this project as a commemorative project. This project you see there cost the taxpayer 89,000 Ghana cedis. 89,000 Ghana cedis. There was a lot of discussions on radio about, number one, the relevance of this project, and then number two, the cost of the project. They felt that this shouldn't cost 89,000. I mean, we spoke about it, but then it died a natural death, as a lot of stories in Ghana do. Waste management. We ask, what are our development priorities as a country and as districts? The Obuasi Municipal Assembly, again, according to the Ghana EITI aggregators reports, we spend, on the average, 30% of mineral royalty on waste management. Waste management. So when you go to town and you see stacks of refuse at different corners, then you begin to ask yourself, where did the money go? That raises a lot of accountability issues. And then the delay in the release of money. Dr. Noresama is around. I'm sure he will address it. But I speak for the district assemblies. Today, let me speak on behalf of my sister, the Honorable Faustina Emisa, who is the DC for Obuasi East. They've been complaining about the delay in the release of the money. I used to be with the assembly as an appointee. And I know I was a member of the Development Planning Committee. We would draw very beautiful development plans, very beautiful projects we want to implement in the year, and then expect to fund these projects with mineral royalty, and it will take more than a year for the money to be released. By which time the budget cycle has ended, and you have to go through another cycle on and on and on. So it has always been a problem. As I said, Dr. Noresama is around. He will address that issue. Financing our development. I ask a few questions. Do we increase the share of mineral royalty that actually comes down to the district assemblies? Is it time for government to shed off part of the 80% that it takes and give it back straight, directly into the communities to support community development? Is it feasible? Is it workable? Do we need a special development plan or a special development vehicle for mining communities? Assuming we all admit that the existing development planning framework is inadequate to address the development challenges of mining communities, is this something that we can think of? Look at mining communities, look at their peculiar development challenges, and then draw up a development plan to address these issues. Part of this problem will be solved by the Mineral Development Fund Act. There's a provision there for which the minister mentioned, the Community Development Framework. And then finally, should district assemblies in mining areas be compelled by law to spend disproportionately on mining communities? Over here, let me classify what I mean by mining communities. There are levels of impact. If you come to Obuasi, the main Obuasi township has no direct impact, as in their water being polluted or their farmlands being seized. When you go to the outskirts, to the communities where Anglo Gold Ashanti had its operations, they are open cast mining some years ago, you will see that their water bodies have been destroyed. You will see that their roads are terrible because the haulage trucks use those roads a lot. You will see that their farmlands have been destroyed and all that. When the money is coming, it comes in the name of Obuasi. But Obuasi is not just a unit. We need to differentiate between those which are negatively impacted so that we spend a lot more of the money in these communities to address their problems, rather than to be doing those legacy projects, fanciful projects in Obuasi Township, which people applaud, they clap, and then we are all happy. We take selfies with it on Facebook and all that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't add any value to the lives of the ordinary person. So these are my questions. So to conclude, the continuous underdevelopment of mining communities is a national security issue. National security issue. Because when communities feel they do not have a share of the national cake, they feel they have given up so much but get so little, they would normally embark on demonstrations like we saw in Takwa. The Takwa demonstration became violent. There was a clash between the demonstrators and the police, and it was very nasty. I saw it on TV. Some years ago, there were similar demonstrations in Obuasi. It's a national security issue. So let us not look at mining community problems as only their problem. It is a national problem we need to address. If Obuasi has a problem, it is a national problem. Let's address it. It also threatens the security of mining investments. The companies will be the first to tell you when there is dissent in the communities, it threatens their investment. Anglo Gold Ashanti had to shut down for how many months? Because the mine was invaded by illegal miners. 2016. We are yet to know how much they lost as a result of that shutdown. That is the kind of security threat to investments that we are talking about. And then also, underdevelopment fuels discontent, and this further withholds the social license. Mining companies need the social license badly. They need it as much as they need government support, because you need to be welcomed by the communities. If the communities are not happy, they rise up against the companies, and the companies struggle to maintain sanity in the communities. I remember when Randgold came to Obuasi and then they did all their feasibility studies and they left. One of the reasons they never came back was the problem of social license. Actually, they wrote in their report that almost everybody they met in Obuasi had a problem with Anglo Gold Ashanti. That is a problem of social license. So it would take a lot of money, investments and all that to repair this damage. So why do we even have to start it in the first place? It will mean that government doing its part in the development equation, government providing the critical infrastructure that the communities need, so that once the communities get their infrastructure, the companies can also operate in peace and there will be development in the country. I'm sure that in the next few hours, we'll come to a consensus on what to do so that we avert this looming national security crisis that we have in our communities. Thank you very much.